Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 9/11 show. And so those of you who've been following us, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your space and all that it takes for you to show up and follow us and watch us. We have been having these conversations since pretty much the beginning of COVID. And as you know, there were some nurses that are near and dear to my life, and they were having difficult times. And in the conversations that I had with them, I realized that the public needed to hear their stories so the public could help them by not demanding that the nurses be as they were before COVID, or that the hospital situation was as it was before COVID, because it was no longer possible. And those nurses in my life, they are amazing women. They were doing the best that they could, but the public needed to know how to better serve their own loved one who was in the hospital. So that started it. That started it. And since then, beloved, we have continued. We started with every week for much of 2020. We went to bi-weekly, and now we are we're on a month-to-month cadence. So why did we change, and why do we keep adjusting? One, because everything was critical at the beginning of 2020. Everything was critical, and it's not that we don't have critical incidences now. We do, but now we are continuing to do additional things along with them. So I wanted to give that information. I also wanted to give another bit of information, and that is that we are on location. We are on location. So you're going to see background is different. You might hear some noise that we don't have any control over. We will do the best that we can. And so just know that we are real people, like you are real people, right? And so we are here to have a real conversation. Always, that's our goal, to have a real conversation. Okay. I am Dr. Catherine E. James, and I have been put on this earth to help others to be okay with themselves right where they are, so that they can leverage this present moment, maximizing their future. What is that? That's self-love. Self-love. So you see love here, and if you see my shirt, you will see love on my shirt, because that's the message that God is giving me to share. And good evening to Vera L. Robinson. So good to see you, my sister. And so this evening, well, as you guys know, always, we have no matter what the topic is, self-care is always an appropriate additional conversation piece. And so we have our self-care specialist, Dr. Joy P. Creel, who is always with us and always man in the back. So she's one of those women who do a little bit of all of it. Welcome, Joy.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me as always.
All right, all right. And then we have Mr. Tehran. For some reason I don't think I have volume. I don't know, but we'll check it in a minute. We have someone who I've recently met, but loved him from the very first conversation. And so, Mr. Tehran Elliott, if you would bring Tehran forward.
Hello there. Hello, hello, hello. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is so wonderful having you. Tehran, it's wonderful having you. So Tehran and I met with another group that we made some connections to another group that we're a part of, and he and I began to talk, just have a conversation. And I realized almost from the first couple of sentences that we were kindred spirits, and it was destined for us to meet and to get to know each other a lot better. And so, Tehran, I want to invite you to introduce yourself to our audience and give them a little bit about who you are, and then I'll talk about how you came to be on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to say just thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on your show. So my name is Tehran Elliott. I am a licensed professional counselor. I have a master's in mental health counseling, as well as a licensed school counselor K through 12. I work with the University of Michigan Medical School. I'm a counselor for the medical students, so I counsel first year through fourth year medical students. that has been like one of the probably best experiences of my professional career so far, simply because not just where I'm at, the people that I'm meeting and how great, how great the people are and being able to assist them on their journey through medical school. I also have an organization. I'm the founder of an organization, One Life Mental Health Counseling Services, and I provide school-based counseling for schools for school-aged students. So elementary, middle school, high school, as well as a mentoring program. Currently, we're finishing up a virtual mentoring program that I'm very excited about with Inkster Preparatory Academy. We're mentoring their fifth and sixth grade boys, so that has been just so great, connecting with the young people. So I love to work with people. My passion is working with the young people, but just people from all backgrounds. And I just love what I do. I love connecting.
Wow. I am so blessed by the thought. And when you and I talked, we talked about how you work with that age of boys, right? That you work with that, mentoring that group of boys, and how pivotal that age is to be able to catch them and help them to know that they are tremendously valuable, tremendously gifted, and to be able to give them some tools to navigate what life brings them. Now, are these African American boys?
Yes, yes.
They are. Okay. And so specifically, right, and this is going to get into the conversation that we're going to have tonight. But specifically, what's the name of your counseling?
One Life Mental Health Counseling Services.
Say it again one more time.
One Life Mental Health Counseling Services.
One Life.
Yes.
I had him to say that on purpose, guys. One Life Mental Health Counseling Service. Hear me. One Life Mental Health Counseling Services. So Teron does all kinds of things as he described. He is serving at many levels. He's serving the students there at U of M. He is serving the young men there in Inkster. He's serving through his counseling program and in the school system as a counselor in that sense. And so One Life, when Teron and I talked and he said that, and we laughed because not everybody, but many people know one of my favorite go-to songs is One Shot, right? It's Eminem's song, Lose Yourself. And I'm not feeling the rap right now. It might come a little bit late. It don't take much. But as Teron talked about that one life, we get one shot in this life, y'all. We get one shot. And let me just honor you, Teron, for you taking your shot. That's when I hear you talk about what you're doing and how you're serving and the ones you're doing it for, you're taking your shot. And so I just totally applaud you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. I always tell people like myself, I'm just a bunch of blessings rolled in one. Bunch of prayers. Like I'm a bunch of prayers rolled up, like family praying for me. Just when I was little, mother, grandmother. And so I feel like it's our duty to be able to not give back, but to pay it forward. Because that's where our blessings come. Our blessings come in our energy that we give out. And so the energy that we give out is the energy normally that we receive. And so for me to be able to make it, growing up the way that I grew up, going through adversity, all the lessons that I've learned growing up, I have to give those jewels back, especially to our young people, especially to our African American males right now. It's a crisis. It's a crisis. And, I feel like it's my obligation, it's my duty, because someone did it for me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for someone else. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my uncles or my grandmother or my grandfather. And so I owe it to them. I owe it to our people. you know, and so I enjoy it. I enjoy it because that's where my energy comes from. My energy comes from connecting with others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like when we talked for the first time, it was
Yeah.
automatic connection because
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
we both, you know, see the same things and think
Yeah.
along the same lines. And
Yeah.
so that's what it's all about. That's
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
I love it. Maya Angelou talked about that whenever she goes to the stage, and she was talking about it in the sense of being, about being nervous and things like that. But she said, whenever she goes to the stage, she never goes alone. She takes her grandmother and her mother and her aunts, and she takes, her uncles or whoever. She takes all of those people, just like you described. Devera captured it. She said a bunch of prayers rolled up. I love it. A bunch of blessings that you've received throughout your lifetime, and it's the culmination that allows you to be as you are today.
Absolutely. A bunch of prayers rolled up. That's all we are. We all, I mean, we all, whether we know it or not, we have people that are praying for us.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think about too is, and my grandmother's really on my mind right now, to be totally transparent with you, because she just had surgery. And I know she's doing well, but
Okay.
I think about my grandmother's, 83, no, 85.
Okay.
She's been praying for 85 years, right? Not only for herself, but for her children,
Yeah.
her grandchildren, for her grandchildren's children.
Yeah.
Who knows when those blessings start to activate? When we really think
Yes.
about it, when we pray, sometimes God doesn't, bless right then and there. Sometimes he waits to the perfect moment. That could be generations down the line. Who knows? And so we never know when those blessings kick in or when those prayers kick in. And so I'm just grateful for that, just to have someone praying for me, my mother praying for me. I think that is so very important. And what it does is it provides strength, like knowing that someone is praying for you.
Yeah.
And you said it. We forfeited the right to not be amazing. I believe did I quote you
You
right?
got it. You got it.
We forfeited the right. And so that's what we have to do. We have to let our light shine and give what we have. And it's so uncomfortable. It is extremely uncomfortable because sometimes we can get in our own way. Sometimes we can question ourselves. We can, be our own, worst critic.
Yeah.
But when God has blessed you over and over again, why do you question them? Just go, just live your life, do you. If you stay in tune, he's going to tell you when to stop or when to turn, or and so just go and and don't worry. Just live, put things forward, and it's all going to work out. Just like me being here with you. It was not planned. This wasn't rehearsed. This
was not.
Like you say, you use the one opportunity that you have.
Yeah.
And you just go with it, and you just continue to build and build and build, and you just live, and I don't know, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's, your spirit is just guiding you. You're not really even thinking, you're just being yourself. Your spirit is guiding you, and you're just going.
Yeah. That's an amen to that. That's an amen. Dr. Joy, I'm going to pick up something Teron says. When God just blesses you over and over again. Take it from there, Dr. Joy. What you got to say to that? When God just blesses you over and over again.
She's muted.
Oh, you muted.
Lord, I'm unmuting the wrong people. So when God blesses you over and over again, what I was saying was that you have to be ready for the blessings. And I think one of the things that winds up happening is like we believe that we're ready. And oftentimes we're not in a position to receive. And so I think it's our job to always find ourselves in a position. And so like, what does that mean? What is like how can I receive, more of this and more of that if I'm not being a good steward over what I currently have or whatever the case is. And so, like Devera said, a bunch of prayers all rolled up. It is that, and that is how life is. And so Teron, I completely agree with you with that whole notion that, we're completely guided by the Spirit. And how that plays out in our life it's all about that message that Dr. James talks about, the self-love message. Like, how are we caring for the thing that God has given us? And that is us. Like, because we're the only thing that God has given us, right? I mean, now there are other things. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't other things, but I'm saying, like, we are the primary gift that God has given us. And because we're the primary gift, like, we have to care for it. And I think that's that place of self-love that Dr. James talks about. And of course, the place of self-care where I'm always settling is like, hey, if I'm not taking care of this vessel, I can't, there's nothing I can do that will care for someone else. Right. So when I consider bunches of blessings, I consider this idea of self-care, because when I'm cared for and when I'm in a good space, then I can receive those blessings and share those blessings. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Joy. Thank you. So Teron, let's share with everyone how we got here. So we were just having a very honest conversation, and I think the perfect segue is you saying that your grandmother prays for you over and over and over again. And I want to take this moment and just give space to your grandmother with sending love to her and sending healing and wholeness to her. All of the love that I can summon, I'm sending it right into her direction.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I just take this time to honor her, to honor your mother for, doing what they needed to do for you to be as you are today. That's powerful. And so when we think about all of those prayers that your grandmother prayed and all those prayers that your mom prayed, the reality of the matter. So this particular show tonight, we're talking about because of the way that I look, because of the way that we look. We all have the same hue as far as our skin tones. We all have that same hue. And there's some realities in 21st century America, or since America has been, that is ours because of the way that we look. And so when I think about all of the prayers that our moms, that our grandmothers, that our aunts and uncles and dads have prayed, many of those prayers had to do with the way that we look. Some of the things that we experience because of the way that we look. And so I want to clarify that before we go. I am in no way saying that the way we look is a problem. So I want to make sure that we clarify that. We're not saying that that's a problem. Right. We are saying that there are some experiences that we have because of the way that we look. Now, the title really came from Tabitha. For those of you who follow her, the lady that's vegan, she had a very sobering conversation because her heart was really hurting. And she kept saying, because of the way that we look. And when I heard that dropped in my spirit. And then Teron, you and I had a meeting, and then we got to talking and we got on this subject. And so that's when you would say, would you like to come and have this conversation so that we can just share from our hearts? What is it like to walk in our shoes, right? This is not about blame. This is not about pointing fingers. This is saying, this is my truth. This is my reality. So Teron, we'll go round robin on it. And I think starting out the gate, when you think about your grandmother praying for you and this subject that we're talking about, what comes to your mind?
Adaptability.
Okay.
And also longevity.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, for my grandmother to still be here, that says a lot to longevity. Within that longevity, it shows a lot of how she was able to adapt to still be here.
Okay.
And when I think about that, it applies to my very existence as being Black in this country. Mm-hmm. Like, we are forced to adapt. Now that is a great skill to have, right? It's a great skill. But also with that, it teaches a lot of lessons. you know, you're going in, you're having to assess every situation and trying to figure out like, okay, where do I fit in?
Mm.
And no matter how high you go, being Black, you're going to always have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And so it went from just growing up surviving, I'm just trying to survive, to now I have to be able to adapt. If I want to gain, I have to be able to adapt to every situation
Mm.
that I come across, and I have to be able to learn from it, study it, and apply every single experience that I have. So um, I think in every situation, whether you're whatever like spectrum of work that you do,
Sure.
you have to be able to adapt. And so, you know, you hear the phrase, you know, the strongest survive. Well, I think it's not the strongest that survive, the most adaptable do.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to adapt. And I think just as African Americans, that has been our story. Adapt, adapt, adapt.
Yeah. Well, Joel, you back to something on this here? It's the system. Okay. Thank you for that, Teron. Absolutely. So when I think about our parents, right? So it's so hard. It's so challenging to have this conversation in this sense. So I was going to say, when I think about our parents, what they had to address, adapt to was more. Initially, I'm thinking more insidious, more challenging, more something because of the blatant racism and the laws that supported you killing a person who looked like us because of the way you do those kinds of things. And those were very, very difficult. And when I fast forward to 2021, sometimes it's hard to say, like, to put any kind of measurement on it because we still have legalized lynchings and murder of brown and Black people. We still have that. And so you're right, that adaptability for them to make it, to be able to keep some sense of internal value and pride when the system, the society, all of the signs, the major conversations or the major messages are saying that you're not valuable and those kinds of things, or that you're limited. So for them to still raise a family, for them to still go on and have careers, for them to still get up every day, for them to still be able to have something left to love us with, you see, or to put that. So for that there to be honored and applauded and all of those kinds of things. But like you said, adaptability, absolutely. They had to have the ability to be flexible and to be adaptable in order to be able for us to be here now. And then they passed that on to us. You was going to say something?
No, I was just
No.
agreeing.
Okay. Yeah. And then they passed that right on to us. And so when I think about this notion, it's so I'm still bewildered that any people can look at another group of people and assess their worth by their look.
Yeah. And it's so it's interesting because in my eyes, the beauty of life is in diversity.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's something that we talked about, you know, is that we are all custom made.
Yes.
Like that's the beauty, that we're all different.
Yes.
You know, we like to wear different colors, right?
Yes.
We like different colors. That we like different foods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we like different songs. We like different music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we like a diverse thing, but when it comes to race, it's like that doesn't apply, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to race, it doesn't apply. No, we don't like diversity, or we say we want diversity, but we don't really support it.
Sure.
So, um, so yeah, that's It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to take in. I mean, it's a lot to process.
It is. Yes. If you were, so one of the things that you and I talked about is that we talked about this idea of helping others to understand what it is that we experience. And so if you were to, what would you want, what would you want someone else to understand? So whatever, someone who is not a person of color, wherever they fall on the spectrum, but they're not a person of color, what would you want them to understand
About us as African
about
Americans.
you and your experience as a Black man in America?
What would I want them to understand?
And it's not the totality, but even if it's just one thing that comes to mind.
That we're more alike than different.
Yes.
We are more alike than different.
Yes.
And I think the power of communication, the power of talking, the power of dialect, conversation, and that's something that the other thing that you and I talked about is having conversations to have an understanding. You don't have to agree.
Yes.
When you have an understanding, like when you try to understand something, that means that you have to listen. You have to take in. You have to have dialogue. So you can understand. You have to sit and you have to listen. So when you sit and you listen and you process, then you can decide whether or not you agree or disagree. And if you disagree, that's okay. But at least you took the time to understand. And so I think that is the message. Like, we're all alike. And so in order to find that out is like we have to seek an understanding of one another. And it starts by letting our guard down and setting our biases aside and just connecting as people. And that's what I think that's what we need more in this world. We need that connection. How do we figure out how to navigate? We sat down and we listened. We had someone to school us. We had someone who left jewels behind. They left their one grain of spiritual sand. They shared that with us and we took heed to it. And not only that, they told us in a way to where we were able to remember. Because you can get, you can have people telling you a lot of things, but sometimes how people say it is sticks with you. And so that's the power in our people, in our culture. Like, and we talked about it, staying connected and connecting, and we grow. It is in our DNA to stay connected, to support. We've always moved as a unit. Anything that we did, we've never moved idle, and so we always have to stick together. And so like I said, we're more alike than different.
More alike than different. Thank you. More alike. We are more alike than different. And I'll comment in a minute. Joy, what's your thought? If you were to say whatever, to share, and particularly with those who would look at us and would have a problem with us because of the color of our skin, what would you like them to understand?
So it's a heavy conversation. This is a heavy conversation, right? Because on one hand, I completely agree with Teron. Like, we're more alike than different, and that would be great to have people to understand, like, and understand that. Have people of other races understand that. That would be amazing to have them understand that. But even as we're talking, like, I find myself in a dichotomous space because I'm in this space of reality because of how I look, the things that are possible to happen to me, and the fact that I even have to have a conversation around because of how I look. And so part of me is like, what do I want people to know? Like, at this point, I just want to live. Like, you know what I mean? And I mean that in such a literal way. Like, I mean that figuratively and literally. Like, I don't want to have to tell you the story. I don't want to have to try to make you to give you the understanding. If yes, there's understanding that needs to happen. So just like in the last 6 to 12 months, I mean, and I'm not even, talking, far history, because we could definitely go there as well. Like there are so many examples, there are so many public examples, and there are so many high energy examples of how, being Black in this country makes it feel like you have this mark, this target on your back, and it's not new. Like that's not new. So I personally, there am in the in a dichotomous space, because it makes it difficult in some ways for me to even find something like to tell you, like, here's what I want you to know. No, I just want to live. Like, I really, I want to live. I want to not fear when I get pulled over by the police. I want to be able to walk in a grocery store in or out of my community and, not be looked at funny, or out of my community, not looked at funny, and in my community, treated right. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we walked inside of a grocery store inside of, our neighborhood community. This was just last night. And looking at the differences that happen. And the first thing the first thing in my mind is, see, this is why I drive to go to the grocery store. But it shouldn't be that way. Like, I shouldn't have to drive 20 minutes when there's a store 3 minutes away. But that particular store is not the one that, treats the people who look like me well. So, the things that I could say that I want people to know, like, I feel like in some ways I need that to be innate. Like, I need it to be innate that just because I'm brown, it doesn't change the way that I should be treated. I need it to be innate that I'm a gift from God, just like you're a gift from God. I need it to be innate that, no matter what, no matter what my skin looks like, I should be treated the same. Do you see? So it is a heavy conversation, because on one end, like, I really want to run down this list of the things that I want you to know. But on the other end, it's like, I'm tired of telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I got.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. When she said the peace, I just want to live. Right. I just want to live. And so there are lots and lots of things that she said that could go down the list, that could go on the list. The ultimate thing is, I want to live. And what I would add to that, and live normally. Just live and live normally. And not be the exception, not be the other, not be something that's, do you see? But just like normal without the additional thoughts or the additional concerns or the additional adjustments that need to be made, or the additional, like Teron, when you talked about it, it is wonderful to be adaptable and those kinds of things. And the thing of it is we get lots of practice at it, right?
Yeah,
We get now we understand that there's some muscles being built that works for us, that works to our benefit, but it would be nice to be able to gain those muscles by choice and not by demand.
Right.
By demand of our environment. And so I was there's so many things, and so I'm trying to decide which way to go. It starts with authentic, honest conversations. And no matter when, where, or who, this is always a challenging conversation. It's always a challenging, because there's so much history, and there's so often defense that's built up. And so can we just have like an honest conversation about day-to-day reality experiences, and can we as humans decide that we're going to be for humans? Mm-hmm. The one piece that I would like to kind of highlight is that oftentimes there is offense taken at the idea of Black Lives Matter, right? The offense that's taken there. And I know it's been said over and over and over and over again. And Teron, you and I talked about it, Joy. I know the same. We are not anti-people who don't look like us. We've got all kinds of friends and relatives and loved ones, and that don't look like us. But typically, they're not the ones whose houses are burning down, meaning they're not the ones who are in the headlines. They're not the ones who are at the other end, that kind of thing, other end of a bullet, with the frequency and all those kinds of things that we're experiencing. And so our conversation is just to say, hey, because of the way I look, these are some of my common experiences. It's not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm saying. It's not even well, sometimes it is where I am, but it is a free country. So, being able to go wherever. And so one of the things that I really would like to reiterate is that if there, I love this analogy. If there are two houses and one is on fire, burning down, that's the house we give the energy to, the attention to, the water to, the focus to. The other house, if it's not in the vicinity of being burned, we don't think about that house because that's not the house that needs the attention. And so for me, that's what's happening right now with Black and brown folk in America. We need, we need the attention. And that's not to say that if your house catches on fire, then of course we think you should get the attention as well.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, take a breath. Take a deep breath. So one of the things to so let's say Davira, hello, Michelle, hello, Senator Sherrod, hello. Amen. Yes, we are and must care for the vessel above all. You are so right, Dr. Joy. And hello, Michelle. And Davira talked about more alike than different. And then the scribe is in the house. Letitia Wright. Hello, scribe. Teron, Letitia is the person that wherever we are when we're doing live, when she gets on, when I tell you Davira's kind of been holding it down for her tonight.
Okay.
Letitia, I'm just saying, Lavera's been holding it down for you, Tisha. But Letitia's the one who has that role. And so I really just wanted us to come on and have this frank conversation about some of the ways. Lavera had to get me up. Oh, Lavera woke you up. I love sisterhood. I love healthy relationships. I love accountability and responsibility, right? And so really wanted to come on and have this conversation so that there's so much still going on. And my invitation is for all of us to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. So when we think about this idea of because of the way we look, one of the things that I know is powerful, no matter what, is love. No matter what. Love doesn't mean that we're laying down, right? That we're allowing something to happen without speaking to it. Oftentimes, love is that we are going to speak to it, right? Oftentimes, love is that thing that says, hold up, we need to put some attention over here. So when we think about this notion of love, this act of calling people forward, this act of giving the best that we can to life, this activity of honoring God for the breath that's in our body, how do we combine these two? How do we combine this notion of love and this conversation we're having tonight? What do you guys think? Joy, what do you think? How do you combine this notion of love and this conversation we're having tonight?
So, how do I combine this notion of love and our conversation tonight? Couple things that come to mind immediately. So I'm always talking about self because to me that is the starting point. Besides God is the starting point. Besides God, self is the starting point. And so if we love ourselves well, we don't have a choice but to love others well. And that transcends a relational barrier, that transcends a skin color barrier, that transcends any and every barrier. If we if we live right, live right through love, right? If we're living right through love and loving ourselves, like you said, then we can transcend these things. And I think that there is a profound lack of self-awareness anytime any level of hatred is present. And if there's a profound lack of self-awareness, then yes, it's easy for me to judge somebody by the color of their skin or by the color of their hair or by the way they walk or the way they talk, because we're not aware of who we are. But if we get to know who we are, then we don't have to worry about, and I think, and for me, that's the primary message. And that doesn't, and so that puts the onus on ourselves. So not Black people, not white people, not whatever. It puts the onus on everybody. Do you take care of you? What it was the song 6 months around your door. I mean, the front door, the back door. I don't know the words. I ain't gonna never get it. I would say half a year taking care of your business, the other half taking care. I can't. I never get these phrases right. But I think y'all know what I'm talking about. 6 months taking care of your business, and the other 6 months leaving other people's alone. Anyways. The point that I'm making is basically it starts with you. It starts at home. It starts with yourself or whatever the case is. And so it's important. It is so important to be aware of what is going on in you, which is why I was able to say earlier, like I'm at a dichotomous place about it. Because it almost feel in some ways it feels indifferent, because again, I'm tired of having to have the conversation. Now, here's the thing. This is not a new conversation. The conversation has happened over the last over hundreds of years or whatever the case is. And so I think once we place the love in the right place, and again, Dr. James talks, it's Dr. James's thing, like loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves, then we can be in harmony with those things that are around us.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. Thank you. Teron, when you think about this conversation, what did she say? There's 6 months in a year. It takes 6 of those months to mind your business, and the other 6 months, at least, what else is that? That's Letitia. That's our scribe. That's scribe. She gonna find it and she gonna post it.
Got it. Okay.
Right? She gonna find it and she gonna post it. She also said there's a great conversation training happening on May 25th, 2 to 4 p.m. entitled Racism, a Public Health Crisis. So as much as we can, have the conversations, be in the conversations, promote the conversations. The conversation is not going away anytime soon, right? It can't, right? But for Teron, for you, when you combine these two topics, so the idea of love with the topic that we're talking about tonight, what comes to your mind?
Honesty. Expressing how we feel and being authentic about it and unapologetic and talking about your experience. So that means that if you are asking me how do I feel, I'm going to tell you. Now, I can't control how you feel about what I say, but if you ask me about my experience, then I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be completely honest about how I feel about it. And so love is being honest, right? And so I think that's where it starts. When we have those conversations, just being honest about your experience, how you feel when whatever happened. Now, if the other, if they're able to receive it or not, then that's on them. But at least you got it off, and at least you were able to express yourself, and you didn't hold back, or you felt like, I just didn't want to, ruffle any feathers or anything like that. That time is over. Like you said, Dr. Joy said, like this conversation has been going on for years, and so we know it's the same thing. So it's not scientific, So, but yeah, just being honest about it, how you feel.
Thank you for that. So this honesty, expressing how we really feel. So she's capturing your being authentic. Love is being honest, and that is where it starts. I like that. Love is being honest. Guys, you might hear something in the background. We're on location, so Just ignore that as much as you can. They are in full out celebration, and we still look, when you know that there's a call on your life, you got to do what you got to do whenever you have to do it. And this is, God has created me to be to create platforms to have conversations. He just has. And so in whatever form we're doing it in, whether it's you and I, Tehran, which I'm so totally grateful to God that He's connected us. I really am. I just really am appreciative of that. So no matter where we are, we've got to be clear about what it is that God is inviting us to. And so, in full transparency, I am, I had to make a trip to be in with someone who's near and dear to my heart, but this conversation still needed to happen, right? And so, to what you said, Tehran, love is being honest, and that is where it starts. That piece right there. Love is being honest, and that is where it starts. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it's going to be, touchy-feely. It doesn't mean that we're going to feel good after being honest. It doesn't mean any of those things, but it's a starting place, and it's an absolutely necessary starting place. So when we're uncomfortable, we need to say, this is uncomfortable for me, but I commit to stay in the conversation, right? I have some really near and dear loved ones, and who are white, and we've had some really honest and hard conversations, and we've left some of those conversations looking like, I don't really, but because we do love each other, we came back to the table. We came back to the table, and so love is being honest. That's where it starts, beloved. That's where it starts. Everything. So for those of us who are committed to how do I want to say it? To address what is really going on in this country of ours. For those of us who are really committed to true change, to change that will affect all people for the better, then love is where you start. Love is a starting point. Love is a starting point. Love is the thing that will take the conversation through, and it is a commitment as well. And so for those of us who are really committed to the better for America, because there's when I did my dissertation, I studied crisis theory. And one of the things that crisis theory said is that a crisis for any people group is a crisis for all people groups. And that's one of the things that this crisis in America, it's a crisis for all of America. And so we've got to have these conversations amongst us and between us, amongst us and between us, so that we can do lots of work, dispel the myths and all those kinds of things and it wasn't our goal to do that work here, but to just say, hey, because of the way we look, this is some of the stuff that we have to deal with, that it's simply because of the way we look. I mean, just simply that, because of the way we look. So Letitia says, that's it. We have to learn to say, this is uncomfortable for me, but I'm willing to have the conversation. It's uncomfortable. Tehran, Devera says, Tehran, do you have a comment on how to encourage your young African-American men to love themselves? What type of conversation would you have?
The first thing I would say, know your history.
Okay.
Find out your history. Know where you come from. That is so big. I think growing up, that's the one thing that my family was big on, knowing where you come from. Slavery, our history didn't start in slavery. Didn't start with slavery. And so knowing where you come from gives you pride in who you are. And one of the things that motivates me, right, is just the fact of me knowing that some of our ancestors on our way, over here, some of them didn't make those
Yeah. Yeah.
boat rides, ship rides, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. Some of them chose death.
Over behind.
And so when I see that we're here, that gives me strength to know like my ancestors fought for so much just for me to be here.
Yeah.
You know, like I think about that when I think about giving up, or when I think about when I get frustrated, I revert back to like how our ancestors must have
Yeah.
fought. And so understanding, trying to teach them their history and letting them know that they are worth
Yeah.
everything in this world, like they are precious, even though the world tells them they're not.
Yes.
Like that is just so important to me. And so having that conversation with them with their history. One of the things that I like to do is with our virtual mentoring program is play Cahoots, the Cahoots questions, game questions, and a lot of the questions stem from our African American history. Who was the first Black jockey to win the Kentucky Derby? You know, random facts, just educating them on how far we've come, where we've come from, and what we've created. You know, just letting them know, like, hey, this can be you too. Look at, you know, I always tell the medical students, you know, of color, you're learning what our ancestors created.
Mm.
The body, knowing the body, the mind, the makeup of the body. You know, our ancestors created all of this. And so just understanding, you know, helping them to understand their worth, starting with the history is huge. And then taking it from there. Because that's the foundation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Devera L. Robinson, thank you for that question, my dear. Thank you. They will keep us on our toes. I am telling you, I love them to wholeness, to absolute wholeness. Yeah. So again, powerfully stated, know your history. Our history did not start with slavery. No, we were building kingdoms before the ships came. Right. We were building kingdoms. We were making our own choices about the land and collective living and values and worship and all those kinds of things way before
Absolutely.
ships came. And so powerful. Devera says thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question, Devera. And Letitia says she loves cahoots.
It's fun. We get into it.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, she didn't. No. Oh, so I shared, so Teron, I can't remember if I shared this with you or not, if it came up, but I tell them that I have an inner Harriet Tubman. And it's so interesting because Harriet Tubman was absolutely my first password. So you can imagine way back when we started using passwords. But she has been one of the people who all of my childhood who stood out for me as a person of power who was determined, no matter whether she was afraid or not, that not only was she going to be free, and so for me, like that is the essence of me. I say this statement like I must see who I can be.
Yeah.
I must.
Yeah.
So that's a place of freedom. Like I must be able to come forward and see all of who I can be. But then anybody who I can touch coming with me, kicking and screaming, and you can't stay there.
Yeah.
No, there's too much in you. There's a need for you to come forward. No, come on, let's figure this out. So I've been walking with my face turned to the side. Here they go, weight on my shoulders, bullet in my gun. Oh my God, yes. So say I'm gonna stand up and take my people with me. Stand up and take my people with me. We're not leaving nobody behind.
Nobody behind.
Nobody behind. Nobody. And all of us have a role to play, right? We all have something to do in order to make sure that other people see. And it's what you just said. So Teron, you're doing it wonderfully, you know, and I know there's so much more for you to do, but at this season in your life, you're with the you know, the people, the young people that are young. Oh, I'm not sure the age, but at U of M, you're doing your role. You're showing up at U of M. You're showing up in your private practice. You're showing up with the young men in the school, and you're showing up here, right? You're showing up here. You answered or received or accepted an opportunity to come and just have an honest conversation. So Joy, as we wrap things up, what are your thoughts? What are some final thoughts that you want to have? Dr. Joy P. Creel? Oh, because we on a site. What's the thing?
My primary final thought. My primary final thought is it is the age old vantage of treat people like you want to be treated. Period. And we won't have to have conversations because of how I look.
Amen. Treat people right. Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Right?
Yeah. Better yet, treat people the way you want God to treat you. So not treating people. I have a former pastor that used to say, you know, the Bible talks about treating others the way you want to be treated. But no, think about how you want God to treat you. Yeah, because we can talk about how we want to be treated. And I think that that's valid. But that just dropped in my spirit. No, we need to treat other people how we expect God to treat us. Period. Like if we expect God to treat us like he created us, right? If he thought enough of me to imagine me and then breathe breath into me, then my skin color shouldn't be in the equation, because that's something that God did that. So if we treat people the way that that we want God to treat us, then we won't have, then and only then will we not have to have conversations that begin with because of how I look.
Got to get the technology rolling. Yes. I know, right? Got to figure it out. Then we won't, treat people the way God wants them. Amen, says Senator, echoing Dr. Joy. Whew. Treat people. I guess sometimes people don't treat themselves well, huh? And so they may not even know. You know, they might not be a good measuring stick. So do treat people from the vantage of how God, right, thinks about the individuals. Devera says, Teron, thank you for showing up. My prayer is that more men of color will show up with a passion and sincerity to help transform lives, especially in the lives of our African-American young men. Teron, that's a good place for you to jump in. Anything that you like to share at this point?
Yeah, I truly appreciate that. I enjoyed being here with you, Dr. James and Dr. Joy. Again, thank you for having me. And then for the questions as well, for the insight from everyone. I think the one thing I'll just kind of leave is like, love yourself, take care of yourself, like put into yourself. Like if you want to give someone else 100%, and it starts with you refueling and giving yourself something. You have to stop. You have to pause, no matter where you are in life, and take care of yourself, pamper yourself, love yourself. You deserve to treat yourself the way you treat other people. And that's so important. Just know, like, define what you want out of the one life you get, and take action towards it. Take action. Just do it. Like sharks don't think, they just do it. They just get it done. And so I think that's what we have to do. Take care of ourselves, love ourselves, refuel, recharge, do things that help us to recharge. It's like the difference between the plug and the outlet, right? When you're a plug, you're plugging into someone, you're reaching out to someone, you're trying to get something from them, right? But when you're the
Yeah.
outlet, everyone is plugging into you. And so, how do you recharge as an outlet? How do you recharge? When everyone is plugging to you, sucking something or getting something out of you or draining you of something, how do you then recharge? And so you have to find your source as an outlet. Now, there's value in both being the plug and the outlet, right? But you have to know your place and you have to be able to recharge. And so just take care of yourself, love yourself, and do the things that help you to recharge and know what that source is. Because that's important too. Know what that source is for you. But thank you. I truly appreciate it. This was wonderful. I would love to come back and chat with you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I'm having this idea of, I was like, so the first conversation that I have to Ron, come on. The first conversation, like this is only our second conversation, really. And then we have this deep dive conversation. But I really think that that's testament to who you are at your core. That you are an authentic being who has decided in life that there's one. State the name of your practice again.
One Life Mental Health Counseling Services.
Every time I hear it. One life.
One life, and we got to make it right.
One life.
Rewind is not a do-over. We get one shot. And so we have to do the best that we can to play the cards that we're dealt. And we are, we only get one shot. We only get one life. And that's
go on to do another sentence because you was gonna go somewhere. Go on to do another sentence.
No, I was gonna say like that's where the name came up. Like when I was trying to find out like what's a good title for my company, and so I asked I was talking to someone. They said, "Well, what's the one thing you would want your clients to know?" I said that they have one life. Well, there you go. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
It's so powerful. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you so much for just showing up. Like Devera said, you're showing up in the earth, and it's so needed. And so I thank you for showing up, and I'm super excited about what the future looks like, right? For you, for your family, for those who you are privileged to serve, and for those who are blessed to have you serve them. And so you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for taking this time.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And see,
many blessings to everything that you're doing. Like you are, you're doing a lot of God's work. So like everything that you're doing is amazing. So I look forward to our longitudinal relationship.
Yes. Joy, did you hear him say longitudinal? Yes. No, we got each other for life. That was clear with our first connection, that the Lord blessed us with each other in this season of life. Devera says, yes, Dr. Kathy. And so again, I want to both say, so I keep hesitating on saying apologize for this being our first conversation. And what I really want to say more than that is like, there is no need to apologize for him because he's designed for this. He's designed to make the adjustment. He's designed to show up. So this one, there's no need to apologize. That's what I'm feeling at my core.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Sending love to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Dr. Joy, as always, thank you for showing up the way that you show up.
I just got a quick one. My mama sent one in the chat, in the text messages. She said, life is a coin. You can spend it any way you want to, but you can only spend it once. Yeah. That there will preach.
Yes. Thank you, Mama.
Mama Creole. Mama Creole, we trying to go off. We trying to sign off. We overtime. And here you come, Mama Creole, with that wisdom. With that wisdom. She said you can spend it any way you want, but you only get to spend it one time. I love it. I love it. I love it. There's a word. Patricia says, yes, plugging into God and knowing who you are in Him. And then Devera says, Dr. Joy, tell Mama, go ahead now. Go ahead now, Mama. I just, I love not being staged. I love being real. I love just showing up and being able to just be ourselves, because we get one time, right? One shot. We get one opportunity. So let's not spend it masking, pretending, hiding, and all those kinds of things. Let's just show up and have an amazing time doing it. And the way we do that is by loving, right? We all agree, by loving. All right. Good evening. And thank you so much for being here. All right, everyone. So we've had this kind of conversation that has gone all over the place, from because of the way that we look, the color of our skin, to you only get one coin. No matter how you spend it, you only get one. I mean, we've been all over the place. I feel so privileged this evening to have had Teron Elliott on. I already see so much in this young man, and I'm so very proud of him. And so look forward to hearing him come back. We'll have him come back and talk about some of the work that he's doing, or whatever it is that he'd like to talk about. So stay tuned to our listening and writing audience and engaging audience. We are so grateful that you are always there, always with us, continually having the conversation with us. Thank you so much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. For those who will look later, who will never know, look. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to leave us a comment, go to drkatherinejames.com and leave a comment. And if you'd like us to cover a certain topic, submit that to us as well. And let's see how that works out. Let's see if there's something that we would that we think fits this platform. So drkatherinejames.com. And again, a special thanks always to Dr. Joy P. Creel, because not only does she work the front, but she also works the back. And she, like the little thing that's going across the ticker tape thing, she's doing that right now. I'm just saying. She's probably rolling her eyes at me right now too. But anyway, beloved, I love you for real. I love you for real. Devera says this was authentic and powerful. It was. I love you. I really do. I love you. Thank you, Devera. And like we all said tonight, love you well. That is the beginning of right siding. That is the beginning of true change, is loving you well. All right. Have a good one. Dr. Joy, they singing your name in the chat.